Oh, thought I'd make a video today. It's been a while. I used to make these often, daily, several times a day, and I just have not had the time. So, today I was getting all my paperwork ready for my taxes. I have not gotten a tax return in many a moons. Let me tell you what. I hate it. Hate it. But usually every year when I do my taxes, I always chit chat with one of my really close good friends. And today we were chit chatting. I got on the subject of like the emotional things and like the rough patches that we'd had over 2024. And I was telling her how I would say like the last year and a half, I didn't feel like I was good enough in a lot of situations. And it affected me so deeply that I lost joy in a lot of things that I shouldn't have. And I realized that I allowed those moments and I allowed things that people would say to me affect me harder than I should have. And normally I don't. Nay, I say. Normally I don't. I have a pretty big voice. I work really hard. I'm really determined. I've done pretty good for myself. I have done a great job raising my children. I have done a good job with my careers and the things that I put out in the community and the things that I'm really passionate about. I've given a lot of time to. And so, yeah, I am definitely proud of myself. Very proud of myself. But this last year and a half, I didn't get to ever celebrate myself. I'm big on celebrating other people. Big, huge. I think that giving people their flowers is so important in life. Anytime my kids call with an accomplishment, something that they've done, or my youngest Finn has accomplished something and they come home with great news, it's a celebration. Always. It's you did a good job. It's uplifting words. It's like, look at what your work is paying off. Like, you did that. Be proud of you. And I've always been that way with my friends, the people that I work with. I get a lot of joy out of my careers in that because I get to celebrate people. You know, I get to work on concerts, and I've said my whole entire life that no matter how crazy a job is, how tiring, how disheartening it can be, long hours, long days, whatever, the second the artist gets on the stage and you get to see everybody light up and have a good time, no amount of money can replace that moment of joy. It just can't. I realized today in our conversation when she said to me, she said, it sounds like you allowed other people to be more valid and their words and views to be more important than your old man's. And I was like, well, no, what he says goes. We have that also in this house. What daddy says goes, right? And she said, that's not what I mean. She said, when you and Junior have your conversations and you guys are planning life and you get to tell him the things that you're proud of or something that you accomplish, other people's words to you held more value than his did. And she's like, that's not fair. She was like, one, that's not fair to yourself. She's like, but that's not fair to him. Because what he says should always be top priority. She is also very much, her and I bond well over lifestyle and relationships. While I have been a single mom the majority of my kids' life, I do have traditional values. I've had them my whole entire life. Unfortunately, I have not been in good relationships where those values were upheld. And that was a conversation that my partner and I had, my boyfriend and I had when we got together. And he said, I take pride in working, providing, protecting. We had that whole conversation. And so him and I bond over that. And he gives me that space to be the provider of our home, as in I get to cook, I get to clean, I pack his lunches. I have this standard for myself and for my relationship that these are the things that will be done, right? And in the beginning, those were, we celebrated each other all the time. We took joy in each other's accomplishments, and that was always top priority. And then over the last like year on my end, my emotional state and my mental thought process of myself wasn't always the greatest. It wasn't, because I let those little things, you know, play over and over in my head. And I do that when it comes from people that I genuinely care about. I don't give a shit what anybody else out there thinks about me. I'm not here to please anyone. Never have been. My kids are also the same way. My kids are not here to please anyone, ever. And they stand on that. On different levels, some of them are a little tender in more spots than others. But overall, my kids are pretty badass. I'm sure everybody says that about their kids, but my kids all work hard. They provide. My son is amazing, and he's gone through his own, you know, hiccups in life and disruptions, and he's come out stronger, better. He loves to work and provide. Both of my oldest son is a big provider, works, loves taking care of his family. He's been fortunate enough that he's been able to allow his wife to take care of the children and have a big role at home, which in his eyes, he had said to me, he thinks that that's more work than what he does, just a, you know, clocking in, clocking out kind of job. My girls both work. My oldest daughter is a provider, pays bills, the whole spiel. My youngest is getting to that point now. But with that, they all have a bit of that traditional values in their life, and attribute that in their relationships, whatever that might look like for them. But just because I work and like to provide doesn't mean that we don't have traditional values in our relationship. And so when I would sit here and have months and months and just be on a high, like, oh my gosh, we're doing so good and this is happening. And all it can take is one comment or one something from someone that's close for all of that happiness, joy, and pride to just diminish. And I shouldn't have allowed that to happen. I shouldn't have. I should have used my voice more. I should have spoke up for myself, and I didn't in some scenarios. And I realized today in that conversation with my bestie that was something that I wanted to change this year. Big time. Because there's a lot of memories that weren't made this last year, a lot of moments that didn't get to happen because of different things. And life has disruptions. Disruptions happen. And it's crazy too when people have disruptions in their own lives that could be bigger than any disruption that I'm having in mine. And yet mine seems to be the bigger of the problem. I have people in my life that are like that, and that's crazy to me. I'm like, don't judge my minor little disruptions or whatever disruption I'm having, even if it's a big disruption. Don't judge my disruption when you've had your own shit in your own home. I think that in 2025, we all need to worry about ourselves. Focus on your own home before you're judging other people's. Focus on your own family before you're judging somebody else's. Because the time and energy that I put into my home, my career, my jobs, my kids, my man, who is top priority, that man always up here. He can do no wrong in my eyes. Yeah, he is my top priority. Then our home, the children, our family outside of the home, and our friends. But yeah, I think we all need to worry about ourselves this year before we go making the comments that we make about other people's lives. Let's try that. Let's just see how it works this year. Give it a go. No bad can ever come from being kind and minding our own business sometimes. You're welcome.